Greetings, everyone. It is GleeCon coming at you again. Back with another episode of Lore of Warcraft. On our last episode, we continued our run through the Barrens, this time with a rogue, and we spent an inordinate amount of time practicing our lockpicking in the hull of a ship. And we then did a bunch of Samaflange quests, and we still haven't fixed that darn thing. We've also been reading the Alliance Player's Guide, and we're now on the last little part of the 6th chapter, which is really all about the history and culture and organizations. There's one more lore chapter after this, and then it'll be a quick breeze before we finish this book. I think we have 2 left in the Dungeons & Dragons campaign sourcebook series that we've been reading. So stay a while and listen now as we discuss the Kirin Tor, a group of a membership of only 120. Seems small. They're lawful and neutral. I wonder if they are involved with the mages around Dalaran. They are independent, although the Kirin Tor and many of its members, both past and present, have strong ties to the Alliance, and they reside in the Lordaeron city-state of Dalaran. So yes, ties to that for sure. Which means old Farinel's been killing them a lot lately. Activities. The Kirin Tor is a sect of wizards trying to study and record all of humanity's magic. They're also determined to rebuild the fallen city of Dalaran, though I'm not sure why they bother. Long ago, most wizards lived in Strom. Things were difficult there, though, so some of them fled north, where they created the city of Dalaran with the help of the High Elves. More wizards followed, and the city became a haven for magi and a center of arcane study. They used their arts to make Dalaran magnificent and to protect it and its more mundane residents, who in return provided basics like food and trade. Unfortunately, with nobody to control them, the magi cast spells whenever they liked, and the constant magic tore at reality. These tears acted as beacons to the Burning Legion, luring them back to Azeroth. Demons slipped through the gaps, terrorizing the locals until the ruling magicrats were forced to turn to the elves for aid. Elf wizards quickly realized what had happened and warned that humanity would have to give up magic to avoid the threat completely. The magicrats didn't like that, and instead proposed selecting a mortal champion to protect them from the Legion. This guardian would have access to all their might and would form a secret defense for the world. The elves agreed, and through the newly formed Order of Tirisfal, provided guidance in the selection. At the same time, the magicrats set some of their number to research and catalog all human magic, and these wizards became known as the Kirin Tor. Even the Kirin Tor, however, found itself powerless to stop Prince Arthas and his forces when he led the Scourge through Lordaeron. Arthas acquired the spellbook of Medivh, and Kel'Thuzad used it to summon Archimonde, who destroyed Dalaran. If you remember from the in-game video, he basically made a sand version of it, and then sort of just blew it away, and then Dalaran was gone. The city was left in ruins. Some felt the devastation was well-deserved, since Kel'Thuzad had himself been one of the Kirin Tor before he left to form the Scholomance. Interesting, this is one of our first mentions of that. Since Kel'Thuzad was responsible for creating the Plague of Undeath and releasing the Scourge upon the world, many felt the Kirin Tor should share in the blame and the consequences. The Kirin Tor refused to abandon their home, however. They returned to the ruins months later, destroying those few undead creatures that remained, and reclaimed their city. They erected a glowing dome around the entire city, powerful enough to destroy anyone who touches it. I'm curious, when we walk by it, we're going to have to touchy and see what happens. Within that protective barrier, the Kirin Tor does something, I imagine, but since no one can get inside, I have no idea what that is. And that worries me. Dude, I'm super curious as to what would happen if you sent an alliance out into, the for instance, Amber Mill where we just were. Would they be hostile? Organization. Well, I'm not sure what the Kirin Tor is up to these days because of the aforementioned glowing dome. I can relate to their past organization, though. The Kirin Tor has a ruling council of 6 archmagi. The council meets to discuss important issues and vote on matters. No single member holds sway, and the majority vote decides every issue. In case of a tie, the members reconvene a day later, during which interval each member considers his or her vote and all relevant information. Beneath the ruling council are the archmagi, each of whom is given tasks as the council sees fit. Archmagi do not hold specific positions or responsibilities beyond the general loyalty to the Kirin Tor and to the world, and the standing obligation to study new human magic whenever it appears. In reality, however, some Archmagi have been given the same tasks so often They've essentially assumed responsibility for those jobs. Thus, one archmage might be in charge of cataloging all wands, while another handles researching and cataloging all illusions. I know that these days several work to monitor and maintain the city's protective dome. I wonder, if there's a special quest achievement you can get in Dalaran where you have to read like these books of magic and they randomly spawn, and they're like basically tied to the schools of magic from Dungeons and Dragons. So there's another connection here, but I wonder if like some of the mages mentioned there, if we could kind of trace back in time to these same specific archmagi here. Magi are the lowest members of the Kirin Tor and answer to the archmagi. Any archmage in the sect can issue orders to a mage, provided the instructions still fit within the organization's goals. As with archmagi, however, most magi settle into specific positions and tasks and work exclusively for one archmage. The ruling council can change this at any time, but rarely does so unless they feel a mage has become a problem in his current position, or if they need him for a different task. Most magi are allowed the freedom to pursue their tasks and studies in whatever manner they choose. Despite the fact that they're the lowest members in the hierarchy, many magi possess great power. Locations. Before Dalaran's destruction, the Kirin Tor was the city's ruling power. Dalaran was not a large city, but it was a beautiful place of towering spires and glittering streets, and the people there were happy and well protected. The Kirin Tor's headquarters was the Violet Citadel, an impressive building so named for its stone walls which gave off a faint violet light. The building had many libraries, research chambers, testing rooms, classrooms, meeting alcoves, and bedrooms. The ruling council, 6 members in all, met in the Chamber of the Air, a room with no visible walls. The gray stone floor, with its central diamond symbol, stood beneath an open sky that shifted and changed rapidly as if the time sped past within the chamber. And in my mind, for some reason, I started thinking about Dalaran, how it looked as a capital, how important it was, and it was a capital in 2 expansions. Then that, just now, while I'm reading that, I'm thinking about, okay, well, what about, how do the others compare? Which capitals are best? And then I just got to, like, okay, we a lot of them are set up like a hub, kind of like Undercity and Ironforge, Orboz, to a lesser extent, Shatrith. And then I was thinking, yeah, Orboz would have been a great city, but you know what killed Orboz? Why on God's green earth do they make it to where you can't mount up in the circular ring around the center? Why? Who does that serve? Is it so crowded they were like, the mounts are just going to screw everything up? Just doesn't make sense. Or if you're going to do that, like make there be a permanent speed buff in there. I don't know. Or just make the halls a little wider. Create some room there. Members. Before the Scourge came, any human mage was welcome in Dalaran. They found peers and a place to stay and to work in peace. Magi with an eye for detail and a strong focus on research were offered membership in the Kirin Tor. The process could take anywhere from a few months to several years. The ruling council did not invite magi until it was sure of their abilities and allegiances. They became even more cautious about admittance after Kel'Thuzad defected and took many other magi with him. I guess part of it's that, to go back to what I was just thinking about, part of it's that you can't, like Dalaran, Valdrakken here, most of the other capitals, you can fly to and from it, but Orboz, you couldn't do that. It was sort of, but still just make non-flying mounts. Even ground mounts would have made it better. Okay, and finally, leaders. Antonidas is a male human mage. He is a 14 level, an archmage of the Kirin Tor, level 5, so he's basically a level 19 character, and I feel like that's even underselling him. One of the mightiest magi of the recent age, Antonidas came to Dalaran as a mere youth and apprenticed himself to a member of the Kirin Tor. He quickly demonstrated both his magical talent and his loyalty and was invited to join the Kirin Tor as a lowly mage. After several years, Antonidas achieved the power of an archmage. His work within the sect earned him a great deal of respect, and he was given charge of studying protective spells. Several years later, he was selected to join the ruling council and quickly became one of its dominant members. For many, Antonidas was the true ruler of the Kirin Tor, and his wise, fatherly countenance became the sect's public face. Unfortunately, Antonidas grew cautious as he got older when the prophet warned him about the upcoming invasion. Antonidas did not heed the stranger's advice to personally investigate. Instead, he sent his finest pupil, Jaina Proudmoore, who accompanied Prince Arthas along the first leg of his journey toward Northrend. After the Scourge appeared, Antonidas did his best to protect Dalaran, creating a protective field around the entire city. It was not enough. Dalaran and then into the... However, and Prince Arthas led his undead minions into Dalaran and then into the violent citadel itself. Arthas killed Antonidas, whose spirit lingered even after the city's destruction, until the blood elf prince Kael'thas finally released him. Interesting. Baratea is the other one. She's a male, human, female mage, and Archmage of the 13 and Archmage Kirin Tor 1. Baratea was a mirror mage and a recently invited member of the Kirin Tor when the Scourge first appeared. She fought with the other members to defend the city from Prince Arthas and his legions, and fled with the others when Archimonde appeared. After Dalaran fell, the Kirin Tor scattered, but Baratea and many others returned to the ruins of their home. I wonder if we're going to find her. There, the other magi combed the city for survivors, for lingering undead, and for anything they could use. Despite her youth, Baratea is a powerful archmage. And then we get a cool little lion's crest here. All right, so we've wrapped up chapter 6. We have 4 chapters to go, but as you can see from the page count, we only have about 65 pages divided amongst 4 chapters. So just doing some quick maths right there, we've got like maybe 16 pages left per chapter, which is still moderate. And 3 of those 4 will gloss through pretty fast. But hey, we got another episode in the pipe 5x5. Thank you everybody so much for watching and for listening, and I will see you next time on Lore of Warcraft.